All right, ready to dive into a story that might just change how you view pro sports?
Oh, yeah.
Today we're going to unpack the Tim Donaghy scandal.
Okay.
It's a story about an NBA referee gambling
hmm
and how far people will go for a win or a payout, really.
It really pulls back the curtain on a side of the NBA you don't often see. All that behind-the-scenes pressure,
Yeah.
the human element,
Right.
and just how vulnerable even a seemingly airtight system can be.
Exactly. And our source material for this deep dive,
Let's hear it.
the documentary Untold, Operation Flagrant Foul.
Okay, I've heard of this one.
Buckle up, because it's packed with insider info and first-hand accounts that'll make you question everything.
Oh, I love that.
So imagine this. You're sitting in the stands, watching a game,
Yeah, yeah.
but you already know the outcome.
Whoa, hold on.
That's the kind of power Donaghy had.
Really?
And he used it to line his own pockets.
Wow.
But the cost.
Let's just say it got messy. Yeah, that sounds familiar. It's a classic example of how easy money can lead people down a dangerous path.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Donnie's story goes beyond just plain greed.
Yeah.
It raises questions about the psychology of someone who'd risk it all.
Right. Their career, reputation.
Yeah. Even their freedom.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, let's rewind a bit.
Okay.
Before the scandal broke, who was Tim Donaghy?
Right.
This documentary paints a picture of a guy who was practically destined for the basketball court.
Interesting.
His father, Jerry Donaghy, was a prominent NCAA referee. Officiating was in his blood, so to speak.
Right. You could say he was following his dad's footsteps,
Yeah.
climbing the ranks, achieving that dream of becoming an NBA ref in
Lots
'94.
of you.
A coveted position, no doubt, right?
Oh, yeah.
Being at the center of the action in the most prestigious basketball league in the world.
Absolutely.
But then things took a sharp turn.
It's like a Greek tragedy, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I see that.
The heroes rise, and then, bam, the dramatic fall from grace.
Wow.
Fast forward to the summer of '07,
Okay.
and the news hits. An NBA ref is under investigation for betting on games.
Oh, wow.
And that referee, Tim Donaghy.
No way.
Yeah. The shockwaves were immense. Think about it. If a ref, someone who's supposed to be impartial,
Right?
is betting on the games they're officiating,
No, man.
does any game feel truly genuine anymore?
It's like, where does it end,
Right.
It cuts to the core of the NBA's integrity, its credibility. Fans were outraged. Players were just disillusioned.
Yeah.
And the league,
Oh,
they
yeah.
were in crisis mode.
Total chaos. And here's the kicker. It wasn't a solo operation.
Really?
Donnie had a whole network operating behind the scenes. Enter Tommy Martino, his childhood friend.
Okay.
And then there's Jimmy Batista, a professional gambler.
The plot thickens.
They formed a sort of inner circle,
Wow.
manipulating the system from within.
You see this in other high-stakes fields, too.
Yeah.
Finance, politics, anywhere there's power and big money to be made.
That makes sense.
It's that temptation of insider knowledge, the belief that you can outsmart the system, get away with it.
Right.
But as Donnie found out,
Yeah.
the consequences can be catastrophic.
So how did it all work, this whole scheme?
Lay it on me.
Well, Donaghy, with his deep understanding of the game, the players, even the other refs' tendencies, he'd essentially predict game outcomes.
Wow.
Then he'd relay this info to Batista.
Okay.
Batista would place bets through, like, a network of bookies.
A whole network.
They were raking it in. For a while, at least.
And imagine the pressure Donaghy must felt, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't just watching the game anymore. He was financially invested in the outcome.
Right.
Every call, every foul.
It's like,
It's a psychological tightrope walk.
absolutely. Talk about a high-stakes game. But, the documentary digs deeper, right?
Yeah.
It reveals something more complex about Donaghy's motives. He doesn't just confess to the betting scheme.
Uh-huh.
He hints at, like, a resentment towards the NBA itself,
Interesting.
claiming he was treated unfairly and all this.
That's where it gets really interesting.
Right.
Was it purely about the money? Or was there a deeper drive at play,
Yeah.
Was he seeking revenge or trying to exert control in a system where he felt powerless?
I like that. The documentary features interviews with Donaghy himself.
Oh, wow.
And he's he's surprisingly candid.
It's always fascinating to hear it straight from the source.
He talks about the guilt, the paranoia, the constant fear of getting caught. It's a cautionary tale.
For sure.
And not just about greed, but about the mental toll of living a double life.
Right.
And remember, the FBI wasn't sitting idly by.
Oh, no.
They were already investigating suspicious betting patterns. And it didn't take them long to connect the dots to Donaghy's scheme.
The walls were closing in.
The net was closing in. And eventually, Donaghy had nowhere left to run. He pleaded guilty to conspiracy and transmitting betting information.
So he faced the prospect of spending years in federal prison.
A steep price to pay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not just in terms of lost freedom, but the damage to his reputation, relationships, his whole life. It's like dominoes, right?
Yeah.
One bad decision leading to another. And before you know it, your whole world comes crashing down.
But the impact went way beyond just Donaghy,
Right.
This scandal, it shook the NBA to its core.
Absolutely.
Raising questions about the league's integrity and,
Yeah.
the very nature of fair play in pro sports.
Right. The NBA's reputation was tarnished. They had to act fast to rebuild that public trust.
Yeah.
Then Commissioner David Stern took a firm stance, new policies, stricter regulations for referees.
Wow.
They even launched a full investigation, making sure something like this could never happen again.
It makes you wonder, though, did it work?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Can you really erase the stain of a scandal like this?
That's a tough one.
And what does it tell us about the vulnerability of any system, right? To human weakness, to greed, to the allure of easy money.
It's a reminder, isn't it? No matter how strong the rules, how sophisticated the safeguards, the human element can always throw a wrench in the works.
Donaghy's story, it really forces us to ask ourselves, how much of what we see, not just in sports, but in any field, is truly genuine? And how much is happening beneath the surface, hidden from view?
That's a chilling thought.
It makes you wonder, how many other Tim Donaghys are out there,
right?
Operating in the shadows, waiting for their chance to exploit the system.
That's where things get really unsettling, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because Donaghy's story, it's not just about basketball.
No.
It's a microcosm of a much larger issue,
Yeah.
The potential for corruption to seep into any system where power and money collide.
So what can we do as fans, as observers, participants in these systems?
Yeah.
How do we safeguard against this kind of corruption?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is. How do we ensure the games we play, both literally and figuratively, are conducted with integrity and fairness?
By delving deeper into Donaghy's story, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Examining his motives,
Yeah.
his methods, and the systemic failures that allowed this to happen.
Right.
We can glean some valuable insights into how to prevent such scandals in the future.
I agree. Because one thing's for sure, the stakes are high.
Oh, yeah.
Not just in basketball, but in every aspect of our lives.
Absolutely. You know what the most striking things about this documentary is how it kind of humanizes the role of the referee.
Oh, yeah.
Like we often see him as these robotic figures, in black and white stripes, just calling the game by the book.
Right. They're supposed to be neutral.
Exactly, in enforcing the rules without bias.
No favorites.
But Donaghy's story, it reminds us that they're human too.
Yeah, they're people.
They've got their own pressures, their own temptations.
For sure.
And their own vulnerabilities.
And the pressure on NBA referees. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
They're making split-second decisions in front of millions of viewers with players, coaches, and fans all scrutinizing every call.
Yeah, one bad call could change the course of a game.
Easy.
Even a whole season.
It's a high-stakes environment, no doubt.
Oh, for sure.
And that pressure, coupled with the allure of easy money,
Oh, yeah?
it can push someone to make choices they might not otherwise consider.
Right.
Donaghy's case, it's a prime example of how even someone in a position of authority can succumb to greed and compromise their integrity.
It's a slippery slope.
Totally. And the documentary, it really dives into the psychological toll this took on Donaghy. Like the guilt, the paranoia, that constant fear of being found out.
Living a double life.
It's a stark reminder that actions have consequences.
Absolutely.
And the price of betrayal can be incredibly high.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
It also highlights the systemic factors that can contribute to corruption. When winning is prioritized above all else.
At all costs.
Right. And there's this culture of turning a blind eye to ethical lapses.
Yeah, looking the other way.
It creates this environment where someone like Donaghy can thrive.
It's like a breeding ground.
Exact.
To the NBA's credit, though, they didn't shy away from the problem.
No, they didn't.
Commissioner Stern, he took decisive action.
Oh, yeah. What'd he do?
Launched a full-blown investigation, implemented stricter rules for referees, and made it clear that the league was committed to transparency and accountability.
Wow. So they really took it seriously.
They did. It was a crucial step in restoring public trust.
Right. They had to show that they were serious about upholding the integrity of the game.
Absolutely.
And that they were taking concrete steps to prevent something like this from happening again.
Yeah, but the question remains, was it enough?
That's the million-dollar question.
Do you think the NBA's response was sufficient to address the root causes of this scandal and prevent future incidents of corruption?
It's hard to say for sure, right? Human nature is complex.
Yeah.
And there'll always be those who are tempted to exploit the system for personal gain.
There's always going to be someone trying to game the system.
Always. But I think the Donaghy scandal served as a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Not just for the NBA, but for all professional sports leagues.
Across the board.
It forced them to confront the vulnerabilities within their own systems and to implement measures to mitigate the risk of corruption.
To kind of shore up their defenses.
Exactly.
And it sparked a broader conversation about ethics and integrity in sports, which is an ongoing discussion.
Absolutely. Sports are more than just entertainment. Right.
No, for sure.
They embody ideals of fair play competition, striving for excellence.
The spirit of the game.
And when those ideals are compromised by corruption, it diminishes the entire experience for everyone involved.
It paints it.
It does.
So how did the NBA adapt in the wake of the Donaghy scandal?
Yeah. What specific steps did they take?
To prevent similar situations from arising in the future.
Well, one of the most significant changes was the establishment of a dedicated integrity hotline.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
It's a way for anyone, players, coaches, referees, even fans, to anonymously report suspicious activity.
That's huge.
It is. It empowers people to speak up without fear of retaliation.
No fear of getting blackballed or something.
Right.
Did they also revamp their policies regarding referees and their interactions with outside parties?
Absolutely. They implemented stricter conflict of interest rules, prohibiting referees from associating with known gamblers or anyone who could potentially influence their officiating.
So cutting off those ties.
Exactly. They also enhanced their monitoring systems to track betting patterns and flag any unusual activity that could suggest foul play.
So they're basically trying to create a culture where ethical conduct is paramount.
Right.
And where any hint of impropriety is immediately addressed.
Zero tolerance.
But can you ever really eliminate the risk entirely?
That's the challenge, eh?
I think
no system is foolproof.
People are going to find a way.
They will. There will always be individuals who try to game the system.
Workarounds, loopholes.
But I think the key is to be proactive, to create a culture of awareness, and to make it crystal clear that ethical violations will not be tolerated.
Yeah, you got to set the tone from the top.
Exactly.
It's about fostering a collective responsibility for upholding the integrity of the game.
Everyone's got to play their part.
But what about the fans? How did this scandal impact their perception of the NBA? Did it erode trust in the league?
It definitely had an impact.
Or did the NBA's response ultimately help to restore faith in the game?
Well, there's no doubt that the Donaghy scandal shook the NBA to its core.
Oh, yeah.
And caused many fans to question the legitimacy of the games they were watching.
Like, is this all rigged?
Right. But I think the league's swift and decisive actions, coupled with their commitment to transparency, helped to mitigate the damage.
So they were transparent about it.
They were.
And they took real action.
Exactly. By acknowledging the problem, taking ownership, and implementing real changes, they demonstrated a commitment to earning back the trust they had lost.
It's about owning up to your mistakes and showing that you're willing to do the work to make things right.
Absolutely.
And while the Donaghy scandal will always be a dark chapter in NBA history,
yeah, it's a stain on their legacy.
It also served as a catalyst for positive change. It forced the league to confront its vulnerabilities and emerge stronger and more resilient.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right. It's a classic example of turning a crisis into an opportunity for growth.
Exactly.
But the impact extended beyond the NBA.
It did.
The Donaghy scandal sent shockwaves throughout the world of professional sports.
Oh, yeah. Other leagues were definitely paying attention.
Prompting other leagues to reevaluate their own policies and safeguards.
They had to make sure something similar couldn't happen to them.
It was a wake-up call for the entire industry.
Absolutely.
Reminding everyone that no sport is immune to the threat of corruption.
Right.
Leagues like the NFL, MLB, and even the Olympics.
Wow, even the Olympics.
They took steps to strengthen their own integrity programs.
Yeah, they had to step up their game.
Recognizing that they needed to be proactive in protecting the fairness and credibility of their competitions.
It's all about maintaining that public trust.
Exactly. So the Donaghy scandal, while deeply damaging in the short term, may have ultimately contributed to a more ethical and transparent sports landscape in the long run.
It's like a silver lining.
Yeah, a painful lesson, but a valuable one.
Absolutely. It's often through adversity that we learn the most valuable lessons. And in this case, the NBA's response to the Donaghy scandal set a precedent for other leagues, demonstrating that integrity is not negotiable.
You can't put a price on it.
Exactly, and that taking a stand against corruption is essential for the long-term health and credibility of any sport.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
And it extends beyond the realm of sports.
Oh, absolutely.
It speaks to the importance of ethical conduct in all aspects of life.
Right. It highlights the crucial role that each of us plays in upholding those values.
We all have a part to play.
We do. Whether we're athletes, officials, fans, or simply members of society, we all have a responsibility to speak out against wrongdoing, demand accountability, and strive to create a culture where integrity is not just a word, but a way of life.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about more than just winning or losing. It's about playing the game the right way with honor, sportsmanship, and a commitment to fairness.
It's about the bigger picture.
And that's a message worth remembering both on and off the court.
Absolutely. The Donaghy scandal may have exposed the dark side of professional sports, but it also illuminated the resilience of the human spirit and our unwavering desire for a world where integrity prevails.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the face of adversity, we can choose to do the right thing.
We always have a choice.
And how did the FBI even get involved in this whole basketball scandal in the first place?
Right. It's not every day that federal agents are investigating referees.
Yeah.
Well, the FBI was already kind of in the middle of this massive investigation, involving organized crime and illegal gambling rings.
So bigger fish to fry, really.
Exactly. They were casting a wide net. And
Donaghy got caught in it.
That's right. They started noticing these weird betting patterns.
Okay.
Especially on games officiated by, well, Tim Donaghy.
So it was the money trail that led him right to him?
Yeah, follow the money, right.
Always. Seems like he wasn't exactly subtle.
No, not really. Once the FBI started digging, they uncovered a ton of evidence.
Like what?
Phone records, wiretaps, you name it.
Wow.
All pointing to Donaghy in this betting scheme.
So slam dunk case then?
Pretty much.
Okay.
With all that evidence, no surprise he took a plea deal.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm curious, though, did Donaghy ever, truly express remorse?
That's a good question.
You know, for his actions?
Yeah.
Did he seem to understand the magnitude of what he'd done?
It's hard to say for sure.
Right, not only to himself, but to the whole game?
In the documentary, there are moments where he admits he messed up.
Okay.
Even seems to regret the harm he caused.
Yeah.
But then he kind of flips it.
Oh.
Tries to justify everything by saying he was a victim of a corrupt NBA system.
Oh, so he's blaming the game.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to shift the responsibility.
Classic. But at the end of the day, he was the one making the calls, right?
Right.
Both on the court and in his personal life. He had a duty to uphold the integrity of the game.
Yeah.
And he just threw it all away.
For his own gain.
What about Martino and Batista?
Oh, they didn't get off scot-free.
Yeah.
They were both charged.
For their roles in the scheme.
Yep. Ended up cooperating with the FBI, though.
Oh, so they snitched.
Basically, offered up valuable testimony that helped nail Donaghy.
So, every man for himself.
Pretty much. It shows you the dangers of getting mixed up in criminal stuff.
Yeah, when push comes to shove.
Right. When the pressure's on, even the strongest bonds can break.
It's a good reminder. Donaghy's story doesn't end there, though, right?
No, not at all.
He's been pretty vocal since his release.
Yeah, criticizing the NBA, even wrote a tell-all book. It's like he's trying to become a whistleblower.
Interesting.
Exposing the NBA's hypocrisy.
But do people buy it?
Some do, some don't.
Yeah.
Many see him as just a disgruntled ex-ref.
Makes sense.
Just trying to profit off his past mistakes.
It's hard to know what to believe.
It is. There's so much back and forth.
Yeah.
But Donaghy's story, it keeps the conversation going.
Yeah, definitely.
Raises these really important questions about the integrity of pro sports.
Big questions. So what's the biggest takeaway from all this?
From Operation Flagrant Foul.
Yeah. What can we learn from Donaghy's downfall?
For me, it's that integrity matters.
In everything.
Yeah, sports, business, life. It's the foundation of trust.
Yeah, I agree.
And when we compromise that, the consequences, they can be huge.
Not just for us, but for everyone around us.
Exactly. It's a wake-up call, right?
Absolutely.
We all have to uphold those ethical standards.
Yeah.
Make sure the games we play, however we play them, are fair.
It's been an eye-opening deep dive, that's for sure.
It has.
Exploring the dark side of pro sports.
Yeah.
Seeing how human weakness can lead to such a huge fall.
It's a captivating story, but also a cautionary one.
It is. Donaghy's story reminds us that winning at all costs, it can have serious and lasting consequences.
And it's a story that's still unfolding.
Yeah, true.
The Donaghy scandal might not be in the news anymore.
Right.
But the questions it raised about integrity and accountability.
Yeah, the influence of money and power.
Exactly. Those are still relevant today.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into Operation Flagrant Foul.
Wow, what a journey.
We went through Donaghy's rise and fall, the complexities of the scandal, and its impact on the NBA, the whole world of pro sports, really.
It really makes you think.
It does. It's a reminder that integrity matters, choices have consequences, and winning should never come before fairness and doing what's right.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We hope you learned something new, gained a new perspective, and maybe even a deeper appreciation for integrity in all parts of life.
It's so important.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep asking those tough questions, and keep striving for a world where fairness wins gently.